Coming up, a Louis Vuitton fashion show in France is getting mixed reactions from Indigenous people online. We speak to a media professor who's been campaigning against the practice of using Native names and imagery to sell products.
I hope we see less and less of this in the future.
And we meet an Ojibwe woman being honored for her work. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amidawahopa, thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. We start today above the medicine line, where a new lawsuit has been filed concerning tragic events. Cambria Harris has filed a human rights complaint against Manitoba's Progressive Party for ads they made denying the search of a landfill where her mother's remains potentially lie. Morgan Harris's remains are currently thought to be in the Prairie Green Landfill, along with the remains of Mercedes Myren, who are both citizens of the Long Plain First Nation. The ads in the complaint were used in newspapers, radio spots, and on a large billboard. It stated that, quote, "For health and safety reasons, the answer on the landfill dig just has to be no." Harris's complaint stated the ad showed that the party was indifferent to violence against Indigenous women and girls. The Progressive Conservatives have yet to provide a public response at the time of this recording. A new Arctic report card shows that rising sea levels have changed a type of permafrost surrounding the Arctic Ocean. Terrestrial permafrost, which is defined as earth material that remains below 0 degrees Celsius, has changed to subsea permafrost. This resulted in the usual average annual air temperatures increasing from -20 degrees up to -2 degrees Celsius. The increase in temperature has resulted in the thawing of the subsea permafrost, which holds methane and other gases. Methane then makes its way into the ocean and possibly the atmosphere. If these gases make its way into the atmosphere, they could further accelerate climate change and result in continuing rising sea levels that disproportionately impact Alaska Native communities. 7 tribal representatives have joined the executive committee and board of the American Indian Alaska Native Tourism Association, also known as IENTA. Established in 1998, IENTA focuses on advancing cultural heritage tourism in Native nations and communities throughout the United States. The board, consisting of representatives from 15 designated regions, is elected by their respective regions for 3-year terms, and they play a crucial role in strengthening tourism across Native nations. This year's newly elected members include Cherokee citizen Travis Owens, United Huma Nation citizen Laura Ann Chasen, Potawatomi citizen Katie Anderson, Paiute citizen Brian Wadsworth, Sitka tribe citizen Jamie Cagle, Mescalero Apache citizen Sarah Kazi, and Timbisha Shoshone citizen Jimmy John Thompson. In a unique collaboration, Starbucks is showcasing Southeast Alaska Native culture on its newest merchandise. Tlingit and Aleut illustrator Allison Bremner has crafted culturally inspired designs on Starbucks cups that bring a touch of Alaska Native art to coffee enthusiasts worldwide. This initiative is part of the company's commitment to celebrating diversity and supporting local artists, providing a platform for unique voices and cultures to shine. According to a statement from Bremner, seeing the Tlingit art style of form line on this wide scale has been wonderful to share with people nationwide. Well, the 2023 Primetime Emmy Awards were handed out over the weekend, and one film with Indigenous people in front and behind the screen took home some hardware. Prey, which is the prequel to the film Predator, was nominated for 6 Emmys and won in the category of Outstanding Sound Editing for a Limited or Anthology Series. The film was directed by Comanche and Blackfeet producer Jane Myers, and it starred Fort Peck actor Amber Midthunder. What exactly does it mean to be Native American? Well, Indigenous identity is something that youth deal with every day. In Nebraska, 2 students talk about cultural connections and growing up in a city. This is a project of Lincoln Public Schools.
Getting shorter. So there's once around.
I feel like I have a really strong connection with my culture. My dad has done an amazing job of keeping me in touch with it. Yeah, I'd say I'm really close with my culture.
I'm not as connected to my culture as I think I could be. I didn't grow up with it, but I have been to my reservation and I have done some things at school.
It is kind of hard because sometimes it feels like we're invisible, you know. We're not seen, you know, many people believe that Native Americans don't exist anymore, they're somewhere else, you know. So it's hard to embrace a culture that's not seen.
I know small facts about my tribe, but I don't know a whole lot. I mean, I want to know more about Native Americans in my tribe and stuff, just because I want to be connected to other people, but I just haven't learned that.
Well, I think it's super important to just connect with other natives because, I mean, I feel like natives have just been through so much. We need to have this strong community, and I think that's what's kept us going all these years is just having our community with us, you know. Being able to storytelling is so important with natives, so just being able to tell stories, have some laughs, you know, I think it's so important.
I do feel out of place a lot of the times just because looking around, I don't look like other Native Americans.
Sometimes it feels like I have my feet in 2 different worlds because I'll be at school and it's a whole different environment, you know. I don't feel native, the connection, you know, when I'm not at a powwow or something, you know. Just the way I dress and the way I speak, and yeah, it's kind of hard.
At school or for me at sports or church, it's very white dominant, obviously, so I feel I'm living that life, and then when I do come to Native American events, it's it's just completely different because that's the focus.
You can't deny Isanti, Dakota. They will come to my match. You can't deny Wichoi Chagaki, Yahipiki Wokdake Kantanka. I have sat where you now sit. I grew up in this community. I was raised here in Lincoln. Every single one of us, our families came from the reservations. Before that, they came from the freedom, the true freedom. So, we are small now, only 1% of us in this town. In the United States, we're only 3%. But the truth is, we're still here. So that shares with you something, right? That means a strength resides within you. That means whatever you put your mind and heart to, it will be. Because you descend from those people. Carry yourself strong. You come from the great people, a people of greatness.
Sometimes I wish that people wouldn't have to question you know, if I really was enough Native American to like identify as one.
We're still here, and that we're sitting next to you, like there's natives sitting next to you, and we're not extinct, we're not gone, we're right next to you in class.
Thanks to Lincoln Public Schools for that video. Maya Abresk, who is featured in the video, is the daughter of ICT's assistant managing editor, Kevin Abresk. Pretty cool there.
Gunabutchwi Minogishiga Noongum. Perhaps today will be a good day. Gunabutchwi Minogishiga Noongum. The word Gunabutch is talking about maybe or perhaps. We is a future tense. Minnow, talking about something good. And Gishiga means day. And then our word Noongum is today. Putting it all together, Gunabutchwi Minogishiga Noongum. Perhaps today will be a good day.
We head now to France, where a luxury brand is fresh off its latest fashion show. But within hours, it received some mixed reaction because of its portrayal of Indigenous cultures. That is the sound of drum beats at the start of Tuesday's Louis Vuitton Fall-Winter 2024 fashion show in Paris, France. Led by the brand's menswear creative director, musician Pharrell Williams took the audience on a trip to the American West for Louis Vuitton's new line, which it says was inspired by the spirit of travel. With the southwestern landscape of cliffs and canyons projected on the walls, the models displayed luxurious denim, cowboy hats, and bolo ties. And for Pharrell's final bow, he was surrounded by Native Voices of Resistance, the drum group who sang some of the songs for the catwalk. Days before this, however, the fashion show was previewed on social media by Indigenous TV, a self-proclaimed media startup covering Native culture and entertainment, with unconfirmed reports that Louis Vuitton could be collaborating with a Native designer. That prompted a whirlwind of discussion online around the fashion show, including some that were not happy with the portrayals of Native culture. It would have been nice to see Indigenous models in this show, one person commented. Another, it honestly seems like they are just trying to capitalize on how hot Native culture is right now, deservedly so, and are kinda desperate to make it seem collaborative or at least authentic. Louis Vuitton told media outlets that Dakota and Lakota artists worked on the show's staging and soundtrack, even adding that Native artists contributed to accessories like its Speedy bag, which is embroidered with the Dakota flower. But the company failed to specifically mention who. The show wrapped up with the Native Voices of Resistance joining a performance with rock band Mumford & Sons and its new song called Good People. But when that track hit streaming services on Wednesday, it did not include the Native group in the credits. Reporting for ICT News, Aaliyah Chavez. It isn't just fashion designers who get called out for using Native names and imagery to sell products, and that doesn't sit well with media professor Gary Rhodes. He's been campaigning against the practice for years, most recently in an essay in the Washington Post. We caught up with him and asked about a particular car name, the Jeep Cherokee.
The Jeep Cherokee has a history that's worth noting, I think, from the origins of Jeep being a military vehicle before becoming a consumer vehicle. And my people, of course, thanks to the U.S. government and military, were on the Trail of Tears in the 19th century with forced removal. Through the Jeep Cherokee name from the early 70s, it's about 50 years of the Jeep Cherokee now. And over again in television commercials, what I consider to be poor word choice, either tone deafness or racism or whatever it is, keeps coming up time and again, even after some of us, including Principal Chief Hoskin of my Cherokee Nation, have spoken out against it. The horrifyingly poor word choice in taglines, slogans, all of this continues. The latest tagline that's, I think, quite offensive, and even after some of us, like my principal chief, have mentioned their concerns here, wildly civilized.
The all-new 3-row Grand Cherokee L, wildly civilized.
What does this mean? Well, it may mean nothing to Stellantis, who manufactures the automobile, or even maybe somebody at an advertising agency. For us, though, it's really rather problematic. The U.S. government named the Cherokee one of the, quote, 5 civilized tribes in the 19th century. We were savage before our encounter with white settlers. We were civilized after, but only civilized, the 5 civilized tribes, because we did not as strenuously fight settlers physically in wars and so forth. We agreed amicably to the original removal, which then became, of course, forced and a lot of promises not lived up to. But that word civilized has a particularly long, insidious meaning, and you combine it with wildly civilized. Again, maybe there's a tone deafness here. Maybe there's a lack of historical knowledge. But Stellantis has gone forward with that even after some of our complaints, when they could have readily, kept the Jeep Cherokee name, but not used such offensive slogans. Thankfully, just the past couple of years, we've seen a lot of what I hope is enlightenment, some of it from public pressure on everything from, say, the Washington Redskins changing their name. Last year, Redman Tobacco, chewing tobacco, finally retired that name. I hope we see less and less of this in the future. I don't think they're the most important thing for Indigenous people. Everything from mental health and poverty, our work with COVID, so many other things are, of course, are much more important than this. But this is an area in which I work, so it's an area in which I hope I can help, and the help hopefully leading in time to come to none of these brand names remaining in existence.
An Ojibwe woman is being honored for her work. Natasha Kingbird is one of 4 winners for the Virginia McKnight Binger Unsung Hero Awards. Take a look.
Ushu Genua Queen Indigenous Cause Magazine in Dame Mesquagami Wiza Ikening Dunjaba. My name is Natasha Kingbird, and I'm an enrolled member of the Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians. So in community, I'm a community organizer, so I help organize the missing and murdered Indigenous women and people events. I'm also on the Violence Free Minnesota board, and I sit on the Northwoods Coalition Battered Women's Shelter board, along with Min Casa.
I haven't done this in a long time. You guys must have been doing a different class, huh?
She started off here as a member of our organization, and she volunteered to do beadwork, and she was looking for work, and the only job we had available at the time was cleaning, and she showed up every day, great attitude, and she cleaned like you have never seen anybody clean before. She had so much pride in everything that she did. So we wrote this grant, and it was to expand our reentry program to serve Native women specifically. And Natasha just showed up. I think Natasha is worthy of this award because of all the great contributions she's made to her community. When she is speaking for the women she serves, she's walking right along with them, like her sisters.
Natasha Kingbird works with women who are leaving the prison system.
Our community is really just somebody needs to believe in them. Like I was given that chance, somebody believed in me, and just somebody to listen to. A lot of these things, that I've learned is really about like historical trauma and pulling our people back to their own roots and teaching them how to
learn how to bead, sew, be in community, get their mothering skills back, and just learning tools to move forward so they can get out of poverty.
She is so committed to leading with her heart and with love and for giving back to her community. She doesn't know how to not see people with love. Approaching with love, do you know how different that is when we talk about the correction system? Then you have Natasha Kingbird say, okay, we're going to approach this with love. But the word love isn't used in public safety language, and yet I come here and understand what that means. That means leading with your heart.
I went in there a while ago, and there was a lot of emotional, just by them seeing us Native women going in there, like there was so many women that were emotionally like touched by that. And it just shows that they're needing, that space in there, or, continue to collaborate with people that are doing that work. I think about our youth and our families. There's so much out there that we could do, and just try to encourage people to remind themselves like, hey, there's so much out here you can be a part of.
Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
NASA's recent moon launch sparked controversy for some Native Americans, specifically in the Navajo Nation, when it was discovered that human remains could potentially be transported to this sacred celestial body. Our partners at Native News Online recently spoke with the Navajo Nation President Boo Nygren about NASA's lack of consultation with the tribes. Here's what he had to say.
Mr. President, you have been in the national news recently about your opposition to a rocket sending human remains, cremated remains, to the moon. Can you tell us a little bit about why you, as a Navajo man and as the president of the Navajo Nation, you're opposed to that?
One of the things, this issue came about over 20 years ago. And as I mentioned to some of the administrators and the federal staff, I said, you know what? I was in either middle school or elementary school when this issue first came about, when the late Albert Hale, the president of the Navajo Nation, brought this to the attention when they had an actual astronaut's ashes spread out across the moon. And at that time, the Navajo people basically said, we hold the moon to such high sacredness. It's part of our ceremonies. It's a part of our culture and the way we, the balance of who we are as Navajo people here on Earth. And so NASA issued an apology saying, next time we'll make sure we consult with the Navajo Nation. And then next time had to happen, which was today, January 8th. But we found out about 2 weeks ago. I got with my team and we issued a letter stating that, a lot of time has passed, but the Navajo people still feel the same. We still hold the moon in such high regards. It's not just the Navajo people. We believe that a lot of tribes across the indigenous people feel the same way when it comes to our moon. And the other thing is kind of talking with some of our traditional Navajo practitioners, just the thought of ashes of our of anybody's loved ones circling circling us every single day is a tough scenario to think about, because I know that within Native cultures, we try to make sure that we honor our people, honor them when they pass on from this world. And the other thing I mentioned too is, no matter how far people have looked into the universe, they have never found another Earth, and they've never found another special being like a human being, and especially like us indigenous people. So to me, there's certain things that you shouldn't do and shouldn't do, and that's what I've expressed to NASA was, I for one will never say we shouldn't explore, we shouldn't visit the stars, visit the planets, and really push science and technology and creativity. So that discussion happened, and I had a kind of a walkthrough talk with the White House, Department of Transportation, and NASA. Even spoke with the administrator, Mr. Nielsen, who's in charge of NASA, and he just told me my commitment's still the same. If it's a NASA mission, we'll always make sure that we consult with the Navajo Nation. But my challenge to him was, if you're going to be a part of any private company and you're going to be sending money up there and you're going to have some money involved, then you should at least tell them, if NASA is going to put any dollars up on this mission, then we got to honor our commitments to the Navajo Nation and other indigenous people who hold the moon to such high regards. And then on top of that, I told him, I said, well, President Biden also reiterated the executive order in 2021, and that was issued by President Bill Clinton in the 2000s, and just saying that we will always do consultation with tribes on sacred sites, and then celestial bodies is part of that as well. So there was all sorts of factors that play into this. Today, the mission didn't go too well. So I guess that's just one of those things where, sometimes Indian people, Navajo people, we try to warn some people, but we were hoping that they would have delayed the mission. And from what I'm hearing now is that the only way to land on the moon is if they crash into the moon. I think that a soft landing is not possible, and this is the first day. They're not going to land and supposed to land until the 23rd of February. So they've got a long ways to go. But this is one of those things where I think it's as Native people, you kind of know that there's another realm working in the works. And I think it's just reiterating some of our prayers and our ceremonies and the sacredness that we hold to the moon as well, just kind of playing into that as well. That's my initial thoughts.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.